The asset data. I was talking for a while, so I don't got These are the products that we have available. We have the VE Gold token. This is a ticker symbol, by the way. And these products also tradable in the exchange. So that, just an FYI. So it gives a full description. And as you can see here, this is what we have in inventory. This is the supply that we keep. So one of the report that I'm in the process of designing is to make sure we have a reconciliation report that shows when we're running low of the gold token, to make sure that we have the right supply in place, we don't oversell, etc. And I'm sure that's going to be one of the things the auditors look for. So you'll just just simply go in. If you already have a token, you can sell it. If you could redeem it for physical, we'll ship it to you regardless of where we are in the world. We're literally in the process of shipping gold to Malta for the first time. And the shipping company doesn't even know what to charge us because they've never done this before. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, is the connection here? Is the connection here weak?
It is.
Okay. So when you click on buy, if you're already KYC, it's going to give you the option to purchase in F or USD. Try it again.
Click start over. Okay, try it again. You know Moore's Law, right? You never do a live demonstration, but this app has been up and running since the beginning of the year. The VE Gold has been up and running for a couple of months. Where we have Veda, many places, is actually a working product. I call it Veda because where it says error loading bounce, that's an issue with MetaMask and the bandwidth. That's not us. Someone can
Chrome and then reload MetaMask.
Oh, is that what has to be done?
Yeah, MetaMask is real.
Okay, so close MetaMask. Yeah,
Close the whole thing down?
Yeah, and then reopen.
Here, go to settings. This is one. Go to settings.
Where?
Click menu.
Oh, yeah.
No, where you were before.
Log out?
Settings. Go down, clear transactions. Scroll all the way down. Reset account. Okay. Now try it. Oh. Circuit Eleanor's computer.
So when you click buy, right, it's gonna, a window's gonna come up, it's gonna say, do you wanna pay in F or do you want to pay in US dollar? Let's say you pick F. Then it's going to walk you to another window that's going to ask you how many tokens you want. Let's say you wanted 5. Click on 5. Then it's going to ask you if you want to use your VeRI tokens to obtain a discount. If you have VeRI token, click on that option, and the price of the gold will be discounted for you. You pay less, and you will send us your VeRI token. You don't have to send it to us. The system has a way of extrapolating it.
Is there a set percentage like discount for use varies, depending on how much you use or send? Can I use multiple VeRI to get a better discount? Like, how does it work?
You get a discount at 55 basis points of VeRI for 95 basis points of discount. So you can use as much as you want up until the limit. So if you basically, the larger the purchase, the more VeRI you can use for the discount. But realize that there's not a lot of margin in gold, and without the discount, if you take a look at the price of the gold that we're selling, and then go through all the major vendors, Bullion Exchange, APMEX, etc., you'll see where we're cheaper than almost all of them. Once you apply the discount, we go below, we're cheaper than everybody, and we're doing smart contracts, which will allow it even cheaper. allow you to buy the gold at cost if you use that smart contract. The smart contract, the first one coming up, is a mortgage note, basically a hard money loan. So if you use that to borrow money, you'll do the gold conversion and purchase at cost. So cheaper than anybody, almost like coming out of the mine.
So as far as the price goes, you determine the price based on like the spot price globally determined.
Plus profit margin. Okay, and then Veritasium is not a gold dealer by core business model. We're a gold dealer because it's a way of stabilizing the store value. Okay, and we could cut margins very low because we're not going to rely on that to make money. By using a contract, you go in and you get, almost stripped down gold, and we do that because we benefit from using a contract. As a holder of VE tokens, holding gold is a negative decaying. It's a negative return. It's a decay because you have to pay for storage, you have to pay for insurance, etc.
What's the percent?
Well, we cover it. We're charging maybe like I think 55, 60 basis points.
Is that a 0.5%?
Yeah. But if you use it as a pledge of a collateral, if you use it to fund a smart contract, that means that instead of paying to have it stored, you actually get a return. So instead of paying, say, -1% a year, you'll get 6 or 7% a year as a return.
You're saying you lend it to others as collateral.
You lend to the others as value. So we have a mortgage contract. Okay, a developer comes, he wants to borrow, say, $100,000, $120,000 to do a quick development project for 1 year. You pledge your 3 keys, which is about $120,000, right, to the contract. He borrows these keys, and then he pays them back plus 8% interest at the end of the year. So now you've earned, after expenses and costs, 7% on your gold, where normally you would have lost 1%.
So it's a loans market as well.
It's basically a mortgage. It's basically you lending money to somebody, okay, but doing it through gold, as gold, and then that person that you lent it to can transfer that gold into the fiat of his choice, crypto of his choice, or leave it in VE gold. Okay, as he pays the gold back and it's a gold on gold return, you get a yield on your gold, where normally you have to actually pay portions of your gold to fiat to store it. Now, if you look at the numbers, you get about 30 to 35 basis points in a savings account. You get a high yield risky account that'll come up up to 1.2%, 3% at the high end, or you get a 65% 70 LTV, it's collateralized, 35% over collateralized loan, and you're getting 7% on the money. So if he doesn't pay it back, you sell the property off, you're still covered by 30%. With expenses, at best, you'll most likely get your money back.
And the other use case is, you've made a great deal in Veritasium, where you finished up a deal, you want to store it in gold, as maybe the market just went crazy, it's going to have a cutback. You don't mind paying less than 1% for the year, because next year you're ready to take that gold back.
Now, the way the very tokens work, when you purchase a VE gold, the very sub-tokens, you purchase VE gold, your storage is paid up for a minimum of 3 years. A minimum of 3 years. So
the first time you buy, so that depreciate that value, that basis points, the 55.
Doesn't apply for a minimum of 3 years. Okay, after the 3 years, it will decay like a regular asset, or continue to be paid up, or you could simply purchase a new series of VE gold tokens, basically, which would be paid up for another 3 years.
3 years are accounted for when you first buy it.
Prepaid. Yeah, prepaid. And so this is a way of wrapping everything into one single token. And despite the fact that all this is prepaid, you get storage, you get insurance from Lloyd's, you get security from Brinks in an LBMA approved vault, you get the use of the blockchain, you get a bearer asset as a token, and you get the ability to use smart contracts, all for less than you could buy the gold flat from a regular bullion dealer.
So do you expect people to roll over every 3 years, like a contract, futures contract?
I've learned,
keep that?
yeah, I've learned not to go by my expectations. I didn't expect Trump to win. I didn't expect a lot of things. So I obviously don't know what I'm, talking about most of the time. I know what I would do, but what I would do is very different from what the populace would do. You have a choice of doing either. You can roll over, you can let it decay. You don't have to decay. You can actually send some money in for storage if you want. You could do that as well.
Are you vetting the real estate opportunities for the hard money deals, or do we have to bring?
I'm doing it up front. I'm doing it as a proof of concept. I'm going to vet it. I'll probably be the buyer. I'll probably be the lender as well. I'm doing it for somebody who I know who does small income producing properties. It's not bad. It's maybe 7, 8, 9% on a 1-year deal. I'm not going above a 70% LTV, and it's backed by gold. You know, and this will work. The contract, the actual mortgage contract, will stand up in a court of law. So we're creating a templating system in our own development language that allows you to write a legal contract in legalese, and then it's converted into Solidity code. The legal contract, when you press the clause, like, you know, footnote 1, will bring you to the section of Solidity code that references the legal clause. And so everything is corollary, and you can use the Solidity code to reference the legalese. The legalese you can use to find and reference the Solidity code. So if it goes to court, right, this smart contract is actually now, according to the legal analysts, legally binding.
So is Veritaseum in the first position on the note?
Well, Veritaseum wouldn't be doing it. I'd be doing it personally as a proof of concept, or maybe Veritaseum, but you would be first position on note. And there would be no second positions, most likely. But if there are, we don't have to worry about it because they're second. So it'd be first position, no more than 70 LTV, and it'd be OID, original issue discount. So it won't even be interest only. There'd be no payments. So he borrows 110,000. At the end of the year, he pays back 120,000 in gold.
This page we're looking at, is it all owned by Veritaseum? That what you're buying here is directly from Veritaseum, or is there eventually going to be a market where the very gold is kind of owned by anyone, and you can put up your own price?
Well, right. What you see there is gold that Veritaseum purchased, all right, and held in inventory just to prime the pump. After that inventory is depleted, I'll still take orders, but I'll do just-in-time inventory, because when I buy the gold, I take market price risk, you know, and for, you know, 20 or 30,000.
This is basically like a retail page. You're right. Selling the...
Right, I'm selling right out of inventory. Here you see supply. This is the amount of tokens available, and these are inventory, tokens left in inventory. And so someone could buy it all out. Marilyn, someone's calling. Okay, so if someone buys it all out and wants to do a $50 million purchase, they send the $50 million in. Once we receive it, then I'll purchase the $50 million in gold. Okay, so now you're just buying out of inventory, but after this point, you know, I don't want to take market risk. And that's what many bullion dealers do. They'll sell out of their inventory, but if there's something they don't have, they say, you know, send the money in and then we'll purchase it.
So is your goal long-term just to sell this out into the very market and let the free markets trade the precious metals thereafter, or are you always going to continue supplying?
Well, I'll always continue to sell very tokens, but remember, they're bearer assets, so once you get them, you do what you want with them. The legal protection we have doesn't even allow us to influence what you do with them. You know, once I sell them to you, you get the token. It's a bearer asset. You're in control of it. We don't create or control a secondary market, and we don't want to. You do whatever you want with them, and when you want the gold back, you send it to us. You pass the KYC if you use a different address. If you use the same address, you just send us the address, a shipping address, and then we send it to you. Do you understand what I mean? Did I answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay. In other words, we don't deal in the secondary markets at all.
I'm trying to see if you could place personal gold onto the platform.
No, not my personal goal. It's just that this is a retail page, but Veritaseum I see as a marketplace where people are going to be buying and selling peer-to-peer. So there's like Veritaseum having products to sell, and then people are going to buy that, and then they're going to be able to trade it.
They could trade it, but they can't trade it through Veritaseum, because if you do, that means we control the secondary market. That's a different business. That will mean that we are acting as an exchange and a facilitator, which we're not doing under the legal protections that we have.
When you trade your gold back, let's say you want to trade your gold for some real estate.
Then go ahead and do it. Do whatever you want with it.
But you can do that on Veritaseum.
You can't do it. What you could do is, if we sold real estate, you can go and sell the gold back to us. You click the sell button. Click the sell button, right? and we will optionally, right?
So it's gonna ask you to.
Okay, so, right, so,
That's okay, I get it.
okay, so you can sell it back to us, we'll buy it, and then you can take the funds and do what you want with it. Eventually, we'll have real estate tokenized, whether it's fee basis, title basis, cash flow, operating company, air rights. We're gonna tokenize energy, electricity, oil, gas, tokenizing the whole world. And then we're gonna run it through smart contracts. The Veda, did you go through the Veda yet? Okay, the Veda is an example of tokenized assets that are aggregated in portfolios. And the portfolios come from our research team, and the research is extensive. We have actually enough products publicly available right now that everybody can access to replicate an entire investment bank. And it's all software. It's all software driven. These are not people. They're not really like funds. But because that's a very hard sell to many regulators, we go through the regulatory
Loopholes, framework.
No, loophole.
we jump through the hurdles as the regulators desire us to. That's a good way to put it, right?
Well said.
These products are not available to the US, but you can, if you don't have a token, you can rent token. Or if you do have token, you can also offer your token to get another person who's interested. But it can't do that in the US. When we move to Bermuda and set up the Bermuda office, we'll be able to offer that to everyone outside of the US.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the US, yeah.
Reggie, I was going to ask, so I mean, are you doing the first layer of the market for secondary stuff? Is it only because of regulation? Like, would it make sense to move somewhere else and then take on that market as well? Or?
Good question. Okay. In the U.S., the record that we are dealing with secondary markets by applying for a broker-dealer license and a registered investment advisor license and an ATS, alternative trading system. So we do that, and we can act like your Goldman Sachs and your Merrill Lynch's. Okay. Until we do that, then we can't do a secondary market. We're also applying in Bermuda. And from what I understand, I think we're applicant number 1. I can't guarantee that, but that's what I hear through the grapevine. And we're going through a full digital asset business license, which means everything, the whole shebang, except for a banking license, and I'm considering that. But the banking license could be expensive because of reserve requirements. We're also going in Mauritius. If the execution gods smile upon us, we'll actually go live in full business in Uganda before the end of the month. You'll see. We're also working on Nigeria. On the 27th, the 27th, 25th, right after Thanksgiving, I'm sponsoring the African Stock Exchange Association event, which is all the major stock exchanges on the African continent gathering. And we'll have a bunch of Veritasium computers. They'll be trading digital tokens. They'll be trading asset-backed tokens. We'll be giving out research. You'll see what looks like an actual financial operation right there. They'll be trading peer-to-peer. So what you'll see is exchange activity without an exchange at an exchange conference. Tell me that's not going to get their attention, right? Hopefully positively, right? Any other questions? I'm sorry. Go ahead,
We
Meryl.
also have the VE research product that anyone can buy, even the US. And it's pretty thorough. It's very detailed analysis.
Open one up so they can see it. We have.
I'd like to see PayPal, if you don't mind. PayPal was, Populous I've heard a lot about.
These are very detailed. Take a look. We do entity analysis, we do macro analysis, and we do deep dives on individual products as well. You can actually take it, so everybody get a good. Because I don't know how many people are blind like me. I had 20 vision until like day before yesterday,
And that's available for viewing in our website.
Yeah. These are free to
How
download.
many companies do you have currently? You've done reports on?
How many you think?
The long ones like this are there's about 8 to 10.
Okay.
I read the
We have-
dashboard, it was really good.
Yeah, we have a number of short
Now,
reports.
don't forget to mention we have
We have about 20 of those.
Okay. So between 14 to 20, there's a full-time. There's an economist now that's going to do bespoke.
Weekly piece on it.
Right. Yeah, he's a PhD macroeconomist.
PhD professor.
Okay. So not to put.
Nationally recognized.
We'll see when he puts out. He publishes for Military currently, and he's going to do for Veritasium as well on the separate cover. I want you to put it in perspective now.
Right here.
Oh, that gentleman is Jeffrey Tabak. He didn't introduce yourself. Introduce yourself, Jeff.
Co-CEO of Veritasium Securities LLC.
Okay, Jeff is being modest.
Yes, he is.
Okay, and you know, modest is not not how we define Jeff all the time, but he's being modest today. Okay, so so Jeffrey is Harvard and Brown, Yale and Brown grad. He has been on Wall Street for 42-ish years. Okay, 42 years. He's ran his own shop, Miller Tabak, for 36-ish years. Miller Tabak. Anybody over age 45 who's in New York in the financial industry has heard of Jeff, knows who he is. Sterling reputation. Okay, he is now jumping at the end of a very fruitful career. He's now jumping into the digital asset space. Okay, most of the digital asset founders and managers, upper management, between 20 and 35 years old, developers, engineers. Okay, now you have true old school Wall Street that sees what's going on and they're coming on board. Jeff, I can say, these are not Jeff's words, these are mine. I can say Jeff probably comes aboard with between $50 and $70 billion of assets under management in his Rolodex. If it was an old school Rolodex, he probably has a phone. But if it was an old school Rolodex of paper, right, I can say that. Okay? Would that be an exaggeration, you think?
That's fair.
That's fair, okay.
And Jeff, tell everyone how you came to work with
I've been researching this industry for the last 3 years. I missed the internet in 1995. Most of my generation, we all buried our heads in the sand. We all hoped the internet was going to go away. I'll give you a prime example of that. Miller Tabak was the first firm to do program trading on Wall Street. We started it in 1984. We did it with index cards, long before computers. I don't think anybody here was born when we were doing it with index cards.
I was.
When the banks picked up on it and started doing it with computers, the margins died considerably, and we started emphasizing the derivatives market. May surprise many of you, but puts and calls, listed puts and calls in the United States only started in 1974. Puts were not initially listed because it was considered un-American to buy puts. We were betting on things going down, and Americans just didn't do that. The put market developed. Initially, the SEC only allowed 5 stocks to have puts. That's how concerned it was that it was anti-American to buy puts. Miller Tabak was one of the pioneers in the derivatives trading of arbitraging put calls and common stock between New York and Chicago, and it was a very exciting business. Things changed dramatically with computers, as I said, but we did grow dramatically with the growth of the hedge fund business in the early 90s. We were a major brokerage firm for the hedge fund business. As I said, fast forwarding, when the internet came, I'm sorry, what?
Well, 2015, because the question was, how'd you get into
right? Well,
he's giving a long path then. He's saying to pick up the pace. That's what he's trying to say. Yeah, no patience, a millennial.
My kids are going to be looking at this podcast and say, Dad, you should have picked up the pace. So I missed the internet in 1995, and I decided in 2015 I was not going to miss the blockchain. I researched this for quite a number, for 2 or 3 years. I decided Mr. Middleton had the best vision of anybody I spoke to in the industry. And I became, I'll wrap it up very quickly, I became CEO of Veritasium Securities LLC last month, September of 2018.
That's awesome.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Those damn millennials.
Up the end. I just thought that would be the full focus.
You just couldn't help yourself.
I watch videos on 2-speed and
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
You know, to be absolutely honest, Jeff is actually very much like you. Jeff, very to the point, very quick. Call him, he'd be like, what do you have to say? 10 seconds. Time's over. He only gives you 8 seconds, he says 10 seconds.
And quite frankly, which is, everybody in this room has to realize, my generation is the biggest holder of liquid net assets in the United States right now.
Right.
My generation is terrified of cryptos, terrified. They don't know anything about it, they don't want to learn anything about it. And part of what I envision doing at Veritasium is bringing my generation into the digital blockchain world.
That's right.
Okay.
the funnel starts at Veritasium.
That's right.
Yeah.
The final starts at Veritasium. Well put, young man.
And to put what brought this upon in perspective, you have a PhD macroeconomist, you have 3 full-time analysts, you have, I consider myself a strategist, macro fundamental, and we have Andrew who came over from the hedge fund, right, Andrew Gordon, and we have Eleanor, right, who's also an ex-Goldman, ex-McKinsey.
And my pedigree is Brown and Harvard. Eleanor is Stanford Business School, and Marilyn is Columbia Business School. We got a lot of Ivy Leaguers in our
Yeah.
And Lorna is USC.
And
You
Lorna's
Okay.
You don't count on the East Coast.
Listen, and I'm from Howard, and I like Howard. Okay, Howard University. So there's a lot of analytical horsepower, right? There's a lot of operational expertise and a lot of management history. There's a lot. Very diverse company, diverse in every single race, age, color, gender, profession, everywhere, even geographically.
Election perspective.
Politically, yeah, politically, because a few of us are still a little confused politically. But I mean, I'm sorry, diverse. I'm sorry, diverse politically. I'm sorry, that was a Freudian slip. Pardon me. Okay.
We're just not confused. We're just forward looking. So, there you go.
And
Reggie, I have a question for you regarding the macro reports.
Okay.
Will they be available to our customers and the public in our?
they're available
website?
right now. If you go back to the research page.
What's the pricing for the research?
Okay, scroll right now. It's free until the
The Q&A will not, well, the Q&A will be free to the public, yes.
yeah. Oh, you talk about the ongoing macro, because there's a couple
Right, the ongoing
the ongoing macro. I don't know, let's consider that,
We'll
yeah.
see.
The first few will be free, because you want to give everybody a taste of what's available.
This economist writes for Militayback, as Reggie said. We have a tremendous amount of hedge funds that read his material, which pay a lot of money to get it. But we've decided initially to offer it free to the Veritasium customers. It'll be written under Veritasium name.
Right there, stop right
Different
there.
from what he writes for Militayback, it'll be more commodity-oriented.
So
You
all
see
these-
cryptocurrencies versus central banks, in our objective opinion. The Bank of International Settlements had a very, very negative and very subjective, in my opinion, report on cryptos. We came in through a lot of facts in. That is macro with facts, with citations, not assertions, but citations. You go through that. I invite everybody, whether you're seeing us YouTube live or everybody in this audience, go and take a look at the research, compare it to not only everything in the crypto industry, compare it to the sell side bank research.
And we
Go to
can
Goldman
download that?
Sachs, Morgan Stanley, look at their Facebook report, then look at our entity
And where do you
reports.
see our commodity research beginning this Thursday?
Yes.
Can we download that?
Right now?
Yes.
Go to use
and
your
all
phone,
these-
download it
all
right
these that
now.
are currently out there are free, but
The
eventually
valuation,
the new ones.
right. The valuation part you have to pay for. Because we do an entity report. It's a 76-page report, 65 pages. We redact the valuation because you have to pay for something. You pay and vary, of course.
What about reports like reviews, videos, articles that cover? So I see this as being similar to what Cliff High does with his Bare Naked Wealth reports. And what a lot of people do is cover the content in his reports, mostly because they're very excited about it. But I see these being great, but a secondary media push for you guys would be to have an economist or someone go through these reports and break down, especially the free.
That's a good idea.
That's a very good idea.
That's
I
a good
like that
idea.
idea a lot. I really do.
Okay.
Just
Well done.
Okay.
Well done.
chock full of them.
I'm not going to give you anything for that idea. Don't get me wrong. Don't look at
You vindicated yourself.
Okay. Oh, if you go to the YouTube videos, you see live right now. There's one streaming live right now. But if you go to the YouTube videos,
Hey, where's my picture?
There's a lot of educational, there's a lot of educational.
yeah, there's at least 1,000 hours of YouTube videos over the last few years.
Yeah.
Good job.
Not that Rich and I are competitors, but I'm counting the number of viewers. He's about 200 anime. I got close to your number of likes.
That's because he's such a nice, likable guy. They just had to hit the like button. That's what it is.
You have to catch up, Jeff.
Yes.
Question, so if we're holders, we're fans, we participate, how do we help? What can we do?
There are a lot of ways to do it. As a brand ambassador, simply spread the word. If you have a specific expertise and it fills in a hole or a gap and you're good at what you do, it's obvious. You can come on board as a contractor, potential employee, and you could tell me. Local meetups help a lot.
Providence, Rhode Island.
Did you go up in Providence?
Yes, I flew out of Providence.
Where'd you go up in Providence?
I live in Smithfield, you know Bryant University?
Sure, of
Might be
course.
live, sorry, but.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Smithfield, we'll talk.
Sure.
Okay.
We also have an opening.
Two of my
right
kids
now
went to Brown
for
also.
a, customer support role, if anybody's interested.
Yeah, that needs to be short term. So if you know the product inside and out, and you'll carry these devices around, and you're going to be on call, we could look into that.
What was that again?
Customer support.
Oh, okay.
People calling with questions. Most of the errors are actually user error, but that's not relevant because it's still attributed to us. So help, and they're like old fashioned, where they could pick up a phone or a video chat if you use WhatsApp. You can get a Google Voice number, WhatsApp, and you can have video chat assistance. I think that would be wonderful.
Are all of you on the Telegram?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, whoever's not on Telegram, go to the VeADIR Telegram group. It has about 2.3 thousand members. That's the official one. Go there and you can talk VeADIR and everything related to it. Any questions you have, ask it, they can answer, and they give you actual real answers and not answers that are made up from the icosphere.
Right, and sometimes what we'll do is if we need somebody for a temporary position or something like that, we'll put it on Telegram too, the folks that we know are committed.
Okay, so you walked through rent, research, and did you do the Veda itself and returns? Yeah. I hope you have some positive exposures now we're in public. No, those look bad. Those look awful. But those were taken out before the market collapsed 80%. So actually, a negative 46% and negative 51 is very, very good relative to the market itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
80.
Now, if you see new exposures, you see up 50%, up 49, because the market has rebounded.
I got a question, if you don't mind.
Be my guest. That's why we're here.
I'm a huge fan. I know you're a contrarian, and I feel like markets don't reverse just gradually. I want to see some capitulation. Do you believe that we need to see that in Bitcoin in the space before we can make our next descent?
Okay. Well, my opinion on Bitcoin, I'm not nearly as bullish on Bitcoin as everybody else. Bitcoin's fundamental value has been overshot by its price because it's media exposure. People jumping in don't understand what Bitcoin is. Everybody says Bitcoin has no fundamental value. That's nonsense. Bitcoin, as it stands right now, enables you to send value from here to the Caribbean for pennies or a dollar. The only other way to do that quickly would be a wire or Western Union. Once I was in college and I sent money to a cousin. I think I sent $500 and they charged me like $100 and change for the $500 transfer, which is ridiculous. That I actually lost 20% of what I sold. Okay, and Bitcoin would have did the same thing for $1.20 or less. Okay, so to have an infrastructure where you can send value that quickly has value. To say that Bitcoin has no fundamental value means you don't understand the system. Not to mention the immutability, smart contracts, etc. The issue with Bitcoin is it's software and it doesn't get to upgrade because the upgrades are being held at bay by the large holders, the Bitcoin holders. They're squabbling like children. Yes, I said it. They're squabbling like children, in case I was not clear. Okay? And in doing that, they're holding back the entire system. So Ethereum and Monero and Dash are flying ahead of Bitcoin in terms of usability. But Bitcoin has the most amount of mind share because it's what's in the media. And of all the platforms, it's probably the easiest to understand, which is still fairly difficult, but it's the easiest.
I have a slightly different perspective on the issue. What's most interesting in the last 6 weeks, the volatility of the equity markets has increased dramatically. Not as much as the media implies that it has, but nevertheless.
VIX is up crazy.
I'm sorry?
The VIX is up.
Well, the VIX is up crazy, but the VIX is a very crude, by the way, it's a very crude statistic of volatility, but nevertheless, it's probably the most used. In 2009 and 2010, the VIX averaged about 40. A 40 VIX implies a 2.5% daily move in the S&P 500. The VIX declined to a period of 10, 11. Now it's gotten to 24, 25. The VIX has not gotten crazy, but just to make my point, the equity volatility has increased fairly dramatically in the last 6 weeks. What's interesting and quite frankly counterintuitive is the volatility of the coins has actually declined in this period.
Right.
It's very, very counterintuitive. One would normally expect the volatility of a less quote-unquote stable product to increase more dramatically in a period of higher volatility for equities. That did not happen. Sure. In my opinion, that's a very bullish sign for digital currencies. Reggie has a more positive viewpoint of Bitcoin than I do, but nevertheless, I think it's quite interesting what's happened in the last 6 weeks. My guess is there's going to be another washout in Bitcoin at some point, and then coins like VeRi coins will start to distinguish themselves as a much more independent, value-oriented product. I think we're going to see huge diversification in the coin market, which we've not seen in this point. It's like, to use a horrible expression, when they round up the girls they round up them all. They don't take just, one or two. I think going forward, it's going to be a much more different, sorry, you're not allowed to say that anymore? It'll be a much more differentiated market going forward.
So I've been waiting for that decoupling of the altcoins and Bitcoin.
I think that's going to happen, but I think you need one more decline in Bitcoin.
I think making fiat onboarding easier so you don't have to put Bitcoin first.
Yes.
Will also be a big
That
push
will
for that
help.
to allow them to separate themselves from correlation.
Yeah.
Hence, VE Gold. You can
Yeah,
purchase
so I
directly with
think,
fiat.
I think Reggie and I have a slightly different viewpoint on this, but I think mine's going to be correct.
Now there's a surprise, right?
So what's your viewpoint?
That he's more positive on Bitcoin than I am. I mean, I think these our token and other tokens that have real value and a real product behind them will start to differentiate themselves much more quickly, and Bitcoin can continue to go down while altcoin will continue to rise.
It's interesting because I'm pessimistic. You've heard me just say I'm pessimistic on Bitcoin.
Right.
And despite me being pessimistic on Bitcoin, I'm more positive than he is.
Yes.
Yeah, that surprised me. I was waiting for him.
Well, that's
To say it was going to skyrocket. I was not ready for what he said.
Bitcoin probably will pop, particularly if when the traditional legacy firms come in and do a Bitcoin ETF, it will go through. The regulators are not going to let the startups do it, and they haven't done it to date. The CBOE or Morgan Stanley or Goldman or JP Morgan come in, it'll go through, you'll get a pop, but it will be solely speculation because the fundamentals are not there to justify the significant increase.
So with enough liquidity that they even place at first, right?
Yeah, and the liquidity in Bitcoin is very difficult to measure.
I was going to ask you about OTC markets. What do you feel about that? How do you see the volume and activity? Are you guys tracking the OTC?
Well, that's where almost all the volume is. What you see on exchanges are not volume.
Right.
NASDAQ, which bought Second Market, Barry Silbert's operation, they do large block trades. Coinbase, you call up Kraken or Gemini, they do large block trades. Those large block trades don't show up on CoinMarketCap. They don't show up on any exchanges. It's the vast majority of the volume. If you had $50 million and you went through an exchange, you would move the Bitcoin price on any exchange.
Less
So
than
that's
that.
why you can't do it. And 50 million is nothing,
No, yeah.
you know?
Just one more point on volatility. The implied volatilities on the curve going out have also declined on digitals, which is quite interesting. So the market is suggesting that this decline in volatility is not a question of that. And that gives a lot of credence to the digital market. You can go out on the curve right now and look at the implied volatilities of the puts and calls trading in next March, and the implied volatility of those puts and calls has probably declined from about 55 to about 40. That's a significant number. That's just not a statistical quirk. And I think that that's very important. It's not only important to look at the daily cash market, it's very important to look at the implied volatility of the puts and calls going out in the market. And of course, as the derivative markets gets more and more liquid, the value of the implied volatilities becomes more and more real. So another positive for digital currencies.
Yeah. You guys should create the first VIX for cryptos.
Trust me, it's
seen a couple bad attempts.
It's a little difficult to do because so many of the currencies are completely illiquid.
Yeah.
So if you want, it's going to be very skewed towards 2 or 3 currencies.
Top
I think,
10 or something
yeah,
like that.
I think we need a little more liquidity in a few other digitals to really have an intelligent product that's going to reflect true volatility. But I think it's fair to say the derivatives in Bitcoin and the decline in implied volatilities is not a statistical quirk.
Okay. So just to jump off the last, and again, the VeADIR is a software suite. So the last module or application on software suite is the exposure. This is basically, if you go to the front page, this is basically a smart contract driven investment fund. Okay, without a lot of the expenses that a traditional private equity or venture capital fund would have. So this is the front page. If you see now, over the last 30 days, the average exposure is closer to 35% versus negative, etc. It all depends on what the pricing is, right? We go from 35 days to 3 days to 7 to, you can see what the market did, 90 days. And they go for a full 360, and that's where you have the negative numbers. Okay. These are the portfolio components.
Do how you got to the negative number, just a little more.
What happened is the market took a very, very big dip about 6 months ago or so. Okay, it started and it just stopped, well, maybe about 5 weeks ago. So going from today, I don't pay attention to what happens on a day-to-day basis. That's not our business. But going past 7 days, it's negative from 3 days from today to about last week. After that, you get strong positive numbers because the market took a rebound. 90 days. And then you go for the full year, 360 days, that incorporates both the rebound and the negative drop. Okay, and you can see what the application is doing. Latest trades, and it should show where the application is going out and actually buying and selling tokens. Oh, we can't scroll that when we start. I can't use the computer. So latest trades, this is in BTC, right? Okay, and it goes to show the portfolio components here. You could go to the menu, and you could change the currency you want to display it in. Right now it's displayed in Bitcoin, but you can display it in F. Okay, you can display it in F. You see everything's displayed in F. You can display it in US dollars. You've seen everything changes, or pounds, yuan, renminbi, etc. So we're going to keep it in US dollars right now. So we go to the exposure part of the app, which is where you actually do your own portfolio purchasing. Okay, so because she's not KYC, you can't actually log in and take a look at it. But those don't close the contract. But this gives you the performance. on exposed value, performance exposed value, US dollars, the progress of the contract, etc. Okay, now, if she was KYC, you get started, click get started, you choose the wallet, and she's not signed in. Okay, so it's a selected account, but the wallet's not signed in. I don't know, would you mind signing in? And everything is blockchain based, so everything is based for your public key. Your public key is your everything, it's your ID, it's like your passport.
A lot better than Ether Delta, that's for sure.
What did you just say? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you
It's a
said.
lot better than the Ether Delta experience, I'm sure you
Yeah. So the public key, I'm actually signed in. This is the account, public key. Click next. And it says your verification is complete, so she's been verified. These are the products you can use right now. And the reason why she can't use the VeADIR is because, well, she's in the continental US, it's not VeADIR.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can do VE assets. You click that to go to VE assets, which we discussed. And VE research, so you can buy and sell and redeem gold tokens, palladium tokens, platinum I'll put in next week, and silver. Yeah. Okay, now we go to her individual exposures. None to display. Not trading on the app. That doesn't look good, does it? Okay.
Busted.
Okay. So to create a new one, you click the plus button. You put in an amount. You put O2Very. Put O2Very buys you $15.16 of exposure for duration. Your verification tokens are not enabled. So that means that you didn't turn the app on yet, because so you click enable tokens, you click this, and this enables it as it tells the wallet to allow the application to use your very tokens. So you click enable, you click update. And you click submit, and then it goes through the blockchain and allows the application to use to take the very tokens out of there.
Okay.
That way, if there's a bad actor, they can't just siphon it. You have to go through them, ask permission, then you have to sign the requested permission with your private key. The public key is your ID, the private key is your personal key to make the ID apply to anything.
Question on the end of, for turning on the access to the very, is it after every transaction you have to return it on, or is there a window period?
You just do it once we sign it. When you first open an account, you just do it once and that's it.
Okay, so
you
for
give
the
it
user session?
Right, no,
Okay.
period. Yeah, it follows the public key.
Okay.
So you're giving the system permission to pull verification on the account.
Okay.
You only have to do it once.
And I got a couple questions saying you do not have to be an accredited investor to get into the.
Oh, that, I already knew that part.
Oh, I got a couple of questions on that too.
Okay.
Did you have any other accounts here? You sure? And using the MetaMask or any other wallets on the phone, there's a variety of wallets that work on desktop, on phones, and tablets. You can have several accounts. And each account is just like a different wallet. Think of different brokerage accounts. She's busted, not using She's busted. She's busted. Okay. Well, anyway, there's plenty of videos if you go through the YouTube channel if you walk me through it. It was very slick. I was gonna show how you can break a contract. She has some contracts for 99 years, but you can take it, you can close a contract in real time, and then you can either ask the app to go up to a decentralized exchange, sell off the contents of the portfolio, and then give you the F. Or you can take the contents of the portfolio and dump it directly to your wallet, which is unique. And you can do it at any time. If you went to a private equity or VC fund, then you have a 5-year lockup, 10-year lockup, minimum is 3 years. And that's almost impossible to come by. One of the many attributes of this. This is a very, very advanced application, and it's modeled with a bunch of other very, very advanced applications. Very simple, easy to use interface. And it's ready to go. There are a lot of people who say you've never seen an ICO that has a product, they're not doing business. If you go to this is what you buy. You're going up 0.05 Very buys $37. You do a 54-day exposure, you click submit, and then it's gonna go and the MetaMask is gonna ask you for permission to take the money out of the account to sign up the private key. So what she does, she's increasing the gas price, and then so it goes through quickly. But most people don't realize if you pay $2.50 of gas, you can get it go through immediately. Transaction created, you can track it. I missed it, I wasn't paying attention. When you click that link, it goes onto a blockchain explorer, shows you exactly what's happening, through the chain. As a matter of fact, once it's open, you can still do this. Right? You can always track everything in the blockchain explorer. Since you just did it, it's pending. It's 14 seconds per block. It wasn't 14 seconds old, so you didn't get the first block yet. But you can take my word for that.
How many confirmations do you allow or need before allowing the contract to go through?
Well, the contract goes through immediately for the first one, but it waits until I think 8 to 14 confirmation before it starts to go and fetch. I can't remember exactly what the definition was. And that's at 14 seconds a block. What was over? I can't remember what else was good discussed, but there's also the rentals. For some reason, this didn't work when you're. Yeah, I have no idea why it's not working on the machine. The person's not working.
Yeah, with the exposure, when you close your exposure, you have the option to get F only, or you can get all of the assets that are listed in the portfolio. That would go to your wallet as well. So if you had Populous or PayPal, you close out, you have the option to get that as delivery.
So, any questions? I can show it on the cell phone. Oh, someone's an ad. Okay.
And you can use several different wallets.
So, any questions on it?
What are we doing next? Let's do it. What are we doing with tonight? Let's go.
Go on a gold selling spree.
There we go.
So I'm actually very proud of the team, the diversity. The software is actually just very basic. Most ICOs rely solely on the development team. They're like everybody, the heroes and everything else. The development team, they do a very good job, number one. But now we have not only the development team to make the tools, but we have the people to sell the tools, to analyze with the tools, to produce stuff. I'm very happy, I'm excited. And I look at the competition, and I'm always nervous because I'm always paranoid. I'm like, they're coming in the door any second now. But when they show up, like, we have a couple more months before I think the big boys come in. But it's probably not the big boys, because if you look historically, at least in the technological sphere, technology sphere, it's never the big boys who do the big paradigm shifts. It's always the smaller guys. Think about it. Apple started out of the garage. Microsoft started out of the dorm room. Facebook started out of the dorm room. Hewlett Packard started out of the garage. Some about dorm rooms and garages.
Hotels in Vegas.
Yeah. That's a step up, hotel in Vegas. But it's something about the culture of the large organization that just doesn't breed that risk-taking entrepreneur with the creativity to, take over the world. It's always, the underdog, and it's always the underdog that's underestimated in the financial sphere. So you could think big. There are a lot of entrepreneurs who say, I'm going to grow this business to, $1 or $2 billion in revenue, or $300 million in revenue, and I'm going to sell it. And I was telling Jeffrey, who's coming on board, I'm not one of those guys. This is digital, it's binary. Either it fails or it's going to win very big. So if someone comes with a $2 billion buyout offer next year, I'm like, that means it's worth at least $11 billion. That's our perspective.
I like it.
So, okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
These people have to thank and congratulate Andrew over there and Jeff. And what we don't see is Patrick, the tech lead, who has 9 people in the room.
He's in
And
Poland.
He's actually in Seoul.
South Korea.
I'm sorry.
He's from Poland, but
Right,
he
from
loves Seoul, so he stays in Seoul quite often. We have 7 guys in Warsaw, 2 guys in East Africa who just came on board, and we have Patrick who leads them from Seoul. We have 3 analysts in New Delhi and a manager who's been with me for 11 years. He's the one who helped me call the Bear-Stearns agreements itself. And we're looking for more. Oh, and Uganda. We have one in Uganda who's leading the effort to hire up, staff up in Uganda. The VeADIR is going full speed over in Uganda, hopefully in 2 weeks. And then we'll mirror that quickly in Nigeria. And 2 big exchanges we're looking to do joint ventures with. One is on board, totally verbally, except for board approval. And the other one we're working on. They're ready to say yes, but we're negotiating on things such as money and pricing, which could always be a no, right?
Yeah, right.
So don't let this man that stands here talks about everybody else, but you all know who's driving the ship. You know, who's the genius. So that's my mantra. I mean, that's how I got on board. I really think the guy's really smart. I think he really knows what's going on. And he's driving the team from the technology, the research. Everything has to be factual, because that's what we deal with, numbers. And so I think behind it all is this genius of a man. So let's give it for Reggie Middleton.
Yes. Okay, so everybody on YouTube, what time is it in New York? It's
Game time.
Oh, it's 9:20. That's why there's such a slow turnout. Okay, so you're there. Everybody hit the like button. Everybody hit the share button. Say hi to the Veritasium Reggie Middleton YouTubers. Say hi. Okay. It's a very nice suite. Las Vegas prices.
Subscribe to it.
Okay. Au revoir.